Go ahead.
Hi, welcome back to Cooking with the Smiths. Today, I'm making meatball sliders and meatballs. And I've got here 2 pounds of ground chuck and a pound of ground sausage. I'm going to season my meat. About 3 cloves of garlic. They're small cloves. I mean, you can add as much garlic as you want, depending on your taste and preference. I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of marjoram and about the same of oregano and basil, a little crushed red pepper, and a little rosemary. Now, I do my meatballs a little differently. I've taken some panko breadcrumbs, they're Japanese breadcrumbs, and it's about 1/3 of a cup, and I've mixed it with a cup of buttermilk. And it makes like a paste, kind of. So instead of just traditional breadcrumbs, I'm going to add this to my meat mixture, and it really does make your meatballs a lot more juicier. And I'm just going to mix this all together, and then I'll show you how to make meatballs and sliders. Also, you need to add salt and pepper before you start to mix everything up. Okay, I've got everything in the bowl, and now I'm going to just take my hands, and it's cold and it's squishy, but it's the only way to get it done right. It just will not mix the same with a spoon, because you've got to incorporate all the seasonings and the breadcrumb mixture together. And this just takes a few minutes. Okay, I've got my meat mixture all mixed up now, and now I'm going to show you how I make my meatballs. First, meatball size, it depends on what your preference is. You might like the big meatballs, you might like littler meatballs. It's your own personal preference. But right now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the sliders. I'm going to make a pretty good round meatball. I think that's a large meatball. But you'll take that, and then you just gently press down on it to make the slider. And you may just press down. Okay, there's the slider. So again, you just are taking, depending on the size of the meatball, but to do the sliders, you want to make them pretty nice size, so you get a little patty out of it. And just rub them together, and then push them down, like so. And shape them. And then for the meatballs, I just roll them. And one thing I think about making them, I call that a nice size meatball. You could make some mini as opposed to having just a bunch of really big ones. And that way, it's nice to have leftovers, or they freeze great too. But then once you get them made, then you just brown them in a little olive oil in a skillet, and we'll put a couple of these in here right now. Oil. It's not quite hot enough. I'll get a little hotter. It got a little cool on me. But I'll wait a minute, and then when that gets hot, I will add the rest of these. Alright, this first batch of meatballs are all nice and brown. Like I said, they're not cooked yet. They're still going to need to cook in my sauce. Now, your sauce, you can use any sauce, store-bought. You can use your own homemade, however whatever you want to do. Okay, we're going to drain these on paper towels to let some of the fat drain off. And then once I get all these out, I'm going to finish with the rest of the meatballs and then onto the sliders. Alright, I got all my meatballs and my sliders made, and I'm just browning them in olive oil. You're not going to cook them all the way, because they're going to cook in your sauce. Now, the sliders I will cook all the way, because those are not going into the sauce. But you just gently turn them and brown them all over. But they're going to cook in your sauce for a long time, so they will get done. Now, as I told you earlier, I had 2 pounds of ground chuck and a pound of ground sausage. And I made my meatballs, I think, pretty big. And then we have the slider patties. But it made 30 meatballs and 6 slider patties. So there'll be some for tonight and some for tomorrow night, or maybe next week. I've got all the meatballs browned, and they're in the sauce. And I would say, since they're not cooked all the way through, I would cook my meatballs in my sauce for at least an hour. Really and truly, I like to put it hot on the stove early on the day, and on a Sunday or Saturday or whatever, and let them cook for hours. But at least they need to cook an hour. Right now I've got the sliders in the olive oil. I'm going to cook these. These will need to cook thoroughly. They are not going into the sauce, so we need these to be done. So I'm going to work on this, and then we'll put together our meatball slider. The meatball sliders are all cooked, and now we're going to put our slider together. I'm using Cuban bread. It's just what we like. Everybody, you can pick your own. I know in the bakery they have the small hamburger, little bitty slider buns, but we're doing this on Cuban bread. First, I'm going to put some sauce onto the bread. It's just some of the marinara that I have, or you can use store-bought. Then we're going to put the slider patty on there. We're going to place a slice of fresh mozzarella cheese. This is just Sargento. I got it in the deli. It's already sliced, and it is fresh mozzarella. And we're going to put some more of the marinara on top. And we're done. There's your slider.